Picture Ellen, 66, standing in front of her bathroom mirror one gray morning, staring at a face she barely recognizes. The lines around her eyes seem deeper. Her skin looks dull, and that spark she used to see, the one that made her feel vibrant and alive, feels like a distant memory. She's not alone in this. So many of us over 60 have those moments where we wonder, is this it? Has time just taken that glow away for good? Ellen used to love getting ready for the day, picking out a bright blouse, brushing her hair until it shone. But lately, she's been avoiding the mirror altogether. It's not vanity. It's that quiet ache of feeling invisible, like the world doesn't see her anymore. But something shifted for Ellen one day, and it's a shift I want to share with you, because women in their 70s and 80s are turning heads every day with simple beauty tricks that don't need surgery or fancy creams. I've got 8 of them to walk you through, easy, affordable ways to keep looking youthful, not just on the outside, but in that confident, radiant way that lights you up inside, too. If you've ever felt like Ellen and want that spark back, give this video a like. I'd love to know you're with me on this journey. Ellen's turning point came at her granddaughter's wedding. She'd been dreading it. Not the celebration, but the photos, the chatter, the way she'd feel next to all those younger faces. She almost skipped it, thinking, I'm too old to fuss over how I look. But as she watched her granddaughter twirl in her dress, glowing with joy, something clicked. Ellen didn't want to hide anymore. She wanted to feel that joy too, to look in those photos and see a woman who still shines. That's when she decided to try something different, and the first trick she stumbled into was hydration. You might think, I drink water, I'm fine. But after 60, our skin and body need more to fight that dryness that creeps in and ages us. Those fine lines get sharper, and your skin looks tired when it's thirsty. Ellen met a woman named Clara, 68, from Ohio, who'd been there, flaky, dull skin that no lotion could fix. Clara told her it's not just about what you slather on, it's what you put inside too. She started sipping 64 ounces of water a day, keeping a bottle by her chair and drinking steadily, adding cucumber slices or watermelon to her snacks for a little extra boost. On the outside, she used a light hyaluronic acid serum. Nothing pricey, just something from the drugstore under 15. 2 weeks later, Clara's skin was softer, and her daughter said, Mom, you're glowing. What's your secret? Ellen thought, I can do that. So she grabbed a water bottle, aimed for 8 glasses a day, easy with a splash of lemon to keep it fun, and snacked on oranges or celery when she could. She picked up that same serum, dabbing it on after her shower, and it locked in moisture without feeling heavy. The first time she caught her reflection after a few days, she paused. Her skin looked plumper, fresher, like it was waking up. She wasn't just hydrating. She was starting to feel like a woman who could still turn heads. That little win gave Ellen the nudge to try something else. Color. After 60, our skin tone shifts. Maybe it's paler, less even, and it can leave us looking washed out, like the life's drained from our face. But the right shades can change that in seconds. And Ellen learned this from Susan, 71, from California. Susan used to wear nothing but beige, thinking bright colors weren't for her age, until her granddaughter handed her a soft coral lipstick one day, just a subtle shade, nothing loud. Susan swiped it on, and her whole face lit up. Her eyes sparkled, and even her husband said, "You look different, in a good way." Then she added a rosy pink blush, dabbing it high on her cheeks with her fingers, and it was like she'd shaved off a decade. She told Ellen, "I feel like me again, not some old lady." Ellen wasn't big on makeup, but she thought, why not? She found a sheer peach balm at the store, easy to apply, no fuss, and tried it before breakfast one morning. Then she tapped a little blush on her cheeks, blending it up toward her temples, and it lifted her face in a way she hadn't expected. She pulled out a soft purple scarf she'd forgotten in her closet and tied it on. When she walked into the kitchen, her son stopped mid-sip and said, "Mom, you look happy." It wasn't just the color, it was the way it made her feel, vibrant, noticed, like the Ellen she used to know was coming back. Ellen's small wins with water and a pop of color were lighting a fire she hadn't felt in years, but as the wedding drew closer, she caught herself squinting in the mirror again, not at her skin this time, but at her eyes. They felt heavy, shadowed, like they were telling the world she was tired, even when she wasn't. She'd always loved her eyes. People used to say they sparkled, but now they seemed to whisper her age louder than anything else. It hit her that looking youthful wasn't just about glow. It was about waking up those features that used to define her. That's when she stumbled into the next trick, and it's one I've seen transform so many women over 60, lifting your eyes without a drop of surgery. Ellen met Diane, 69, from Florida, who'd been there too, bags under her eyes, making her look worn out, even after a good night's sleep. Diane told her it's not about hiding, it's about brightening. She started with a cold spoon trick, popping 2 in the fridge overnight, then pressing them under her eyes for a minute each morning. It tightened the puffiness, like a little wake-up call for her skin. Then she dabbed on a light concealer, just a shade brighter than her skin, nothing heavy, blending it with her ring finger along the under-eye area. The difference was instant. Her eyes looked wider, fresher, like she'd slept a full 8 hours. Ellen thought, "I've got spoons in 5 minutes. Why not?" So she tried it. Chilled spoons from her kitchen drawer, a quick press while her coffee brewed, and a touch of concealer she'd had sitting unused in her makeup bag. She stood back and blinked. Those shadows were softer, her eyes brighter, like they were saying, "Hello again. It's so easy you can do it too. Toss a couple of spoons in the fridge tonight, press them under your eyes for 60 seconds tomorrow, and add a light concealer if you've got it. If you don't, a little moisturizer works to smooth things out. It's not about covering up, it's about letting your eyes shine like they used to." And for Ellen, it was another step toward feeling like the woman she wanted to be in those wedding photos. With her eyes waking up, Ellen started noticing something else. Her hair. It used to be her crown, thick and wavy, but now it felt flat, thinner, like it was giving up on her. She'd brush it and sigh, thinking, this is just what happens after 60. But then she heard about a trick from Joan, 73, from Oregon, who swore she'd found a way to bring her hair back to life without hours at the salon. Joan said, it's all about volume and a little TLC, starting with how you dry it. She'd stopped rubbing it hard with a towel, which breaks those fragile strands, and instead patted it gently, then flipped her head upside down while blow-drying on low heat. It lifted her roots, gave her that bounce she'd missed. Then she added a volumizing mousse, just a golf ball-sized dollop worked into damp hair, and it held that fullness all day. Ellen wasn't sure. She'd never been one for products. But Joan's hair looked so alive she had to try. She dug out her old blow dryer, patted her hair dry after her shower, and flipped her head over, feeling a little silly at first. The warm air lifted her roots, and she worked in a bit of mousse she picked up for $6 at the store. When she stood up and shook it out, her hair had body. Nothing dramatic, just enough to frame her face like it used to. She ran her fingers through it and smiled. It wasn't just about looks. It was about feeling that old confidence creep back. You can do this too. Pat your hair dry, don't rub, and flip it upside down with a low-heat dryer for a minute or two. Add a dab of volumizing mousse if you want that extra lift. It's cheap and easy to find. Your hair's not done with you yet, and for Ellen, it was like putting on a crown she'd forgotten she owned. She was starting to see it now, piece by piece. She wasn't just chasing youth, she was rebuilding it, and every step made her wonder what else she could do. If you're feeling that same spark, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear which tricks got you curious so far. Ellen was feeling the shift now, her skin glowing, her eyes brighter, her hair lifting like it used to. And with the wedding just days away, she was starting to believe she could walk into that room and hold her own. But then she caught herself slouching in her kitchen chair one morning, her shoulders hunched, her back curved, like her body was settling into an old habit she hadn't noticed. It wasn't just about comfort. It made her look smaller, older, like she was shrinking into herself. She remembered how she used to stand tall, head high, and she wanted that back. It wasn't too late. That's when she heard about a trick from Ruth, 70, from New York, who'd felt the same way. Her posture had slumped over the years, and it dulled her whole presence. Ruth said, "It's not about forcing yourself straight. It's about small moves that rebuild how you carry yourself." She started with a simple stretch, standing against a wall, heels and shoulders touching it, then rolling her shoulders back and holding it for 30 seconds, twice a day. It opened her chest, lifted her chin. Then she added a habit. Every time she sat down, she'd imagine a string pulling her head up gently, keeping her spine long. Within a week, Ruth said she looked taller, more alive, and her friends kept asking if she'd lost weight. Ellen thought, I can stand against a wall, that's nothing. So she tried it, morning and night, heels against her bedroom wall, shoulders back, breathing deep for half a minute. At her table, she pictured that string, sitting up instead of sinking in. The first time she walked across her living room after a few days, she felt it, lighter, stronger, like her old self was peeking through. You can do this too. Stand against a wall twice a day, roll your shoulders back for 30 seconds and feel that stretch. When you sit, imagine that string pulling you up. It's subtle, but it works. It's not about perfection. It's about carrying yourself like the vibrant woman you are. And for Ellen, it was like stepping into a version of herself she'd almost forgotten. That lift in her posture got her thinking about her hands, because as she stood taller, she noticed them more, resting on the counter, spotted and dry, telling a story of years she wasn't ready to let define her. Hands can age us fast, sunspots, thin skin, and Ellen didn't want that to steal her glow. She met Laura, 65, from Arizona, who turned her hands into a secret weapon instead of a giveaway. Laura said, "It's about care, not cover-up. Starting with a rich hand cream every night, something with shea butter or glycerin, massaged in like a little ritual. She kept a tube by her sink, too, rubbing it in after dishes or gardening. Then she added a lemon trick. Once a week, she'd mix a teaspoon of lemon juice with a bit of sugar, scrub it over her hands for a minute, and rinse. It faded those spots, brightened her skin." Laura told Ellen her hands looked softer, younger, and people started complimenting her rings again. Ellen wasn't one for fuss, but she thought, "I wash my hands anyway, why not?" So she grabbed a $5 tube of shea butter cream from the store, worked it into her hands before bed, knuckles, fingers, all of it, and kept it by her sink for daytime. That weekend, she tried the lemon scrub, just a quick mix in a bowl, and scrubbed while humming to herself. A few days later, her hands felt smoother, and those spots, fainter, like they were stepping back instead of shouting. You can do it too. Pick up a thick hand cream, use it nightly, and after water touches your hands, really massage it in. Once a week, mix a teaspoon of lemon juice with some sugar, scrub for a minute, and rinse. It's not about hiding your hands. It's about letting them shine with the rest of you. And for Ellen, it was another piece falling into place. She was starting to see herself differently now, not just in bits and pieces, but as a whole woman coming alive again, ready to face that wedding and whatever came next. The wedding was tomorrow, and Ellen could feel the buzz building, not just in her house, but in her chest, a mix of nerves and something new, excitement. She'd come so far, her skin plumper, her eyes brighter, her hair fuller, her hands softer. But as she tried on her dress, a soft lavender number she'd picked to match that scarf, she noticed her neck. It was crepey, a little loose, like it was whispering all the years she'd lived despite everything else she'd done. She didn't want it to dim her shine, not now, not when she was so close to feeling whole again. That's when she learned a trick from Margaret, 72, from Georgia, who'd tackled the same thing, neck skin, that made her feel older than her spirit. Margaret said it's about tightening, not hiding, starting with a simple massage every night. She'd take a dab of her moisturizer, warm it in her hands, and gently rub it upward along her neck, from collarbone to jaw, for a minute or two. It boosted circulation, smoothed that crepey look over time. Then she added a posture tweak, keeping her chin up when she walked, not tucked down, to stretch that skin naturally. Margaret told Ellen her neck looked firmer, and she felt regal, like she owned every room she entered. Ellen thought, "I've got moisturizer. I can rub it up instead of down." So she started that night, her usual cream, a little upward massage while she watched TV, firm but gentle. During the day, she caught herself tucking her chin and lifted it instead, feeling her neck stretch. A few days in, it wasn't drastic, but the crepiness softened, and she stood taller in that dress, like her neck was catching up with the rest of her. You can do it too. Take your moisturizer tonight, rub it upward along your neck for a minute, and make it a habit. When you're out, lift your chin, stretch it out. It's small, but it builds. Hello. It's not about erasing time. It's about wearing it with grace. And for Ellen, it was one more way to step into the woman she was becoming. With her neck smoothing out, Ellen turned to her smile, because if anything was going to shine at that wedding, it was her laugh, her joy, the lines she'd earned from a life well lived. But her teeth weren't helping. Yellowed from years of coffee and tea, they dulled her whole face when she grinned. She didn't want veneers or harsh treatments. She wanted something simple. That's when she met Betty, 67, from Illinois, who'd brightened her smile without breaking the bank. Betty said it's about gentle whitening, mixing a half teaspoon of baking soda with a splash of water into a paste, brushing with it once a week, soft and quick, then rinsing well. She paired it with a whitening toothpaste daily. Nothing fancy, just one from the grocery aisle. Within a month, Betty's teeth were a shade lighter, and her smile popped. Her friends said it was like she'd turned back the clock. Ellen wasn't sure about baking soda, but she thought, I've got some in the pantry, why not? So she mixed it up one evening, brushed gently for a minute, and started using a whitening paste she'd picked up for $4. The first week, she barely noticed, but by the wedding, her teeth were brighter. Not Hollywood white, but enough to make her smile feel young again. You can try it too. Mix a half teaspoon of baking soda with water. Brush once a week, and use a whitening toothpaste every day. It's not about perfection. It's about letting your smile light up. And for Ellen, it was the final touch. The morning of the wedding, she stood in front of that mirror, hydrated glow, bright eyes, full hair, soft hands, firm neck, and a smile that sparkled. She didn't just look youthful, she felt it, deep down, like the woman who danced through life was back. When she walked into that reception, her granddaughter ran over, hugged her, and whispered, "Grandma, you're beautiful." The photos came later, Ellen laughing, head high, radiant, and she didn't shy away from a single one. This wasn't about chasing 30, it was about owning 66, every trick a step to feeling alive again. You've got that in you too. These 8 tricks aren't magic. They're yours to take, small moves that add up to something big. If you're ready to start your own journey, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to keep sharing ways to shine with you.